right, what's up everybody? Here we are, another broadcast at Ultimate Studios Inc. And today I'll be doing neoclassical, right? The style, the things that they use. I'll go over some of the basics and just like I did in the progression right there, what is the typical sound of neoclassical? Now, when you say neoclassical, it's basically taking what the old masters did in classical music and then applying it probably with a drum beat and some distortion. And the instrumentation is obviously different. So we have drums, we got a bass, we got a guitar, and then keyboards. Now once you have that, then you have to do the typical classical sounding harmony. And probably the most obvious example is when you do minor things. And that basically means that you have to use two scales. One is the actual natural minor scale, and the other one is the harmonic minor scale. And like I had in that chord progression, I was just doing a very typical thing, which is E minor, and then a C over the E bass, right? So there's no bass movement per se. It's like a slash chord. Back to E minor, right? And then 5 chord. The 5 chord is the one that brings you back. This is probably a very simple example, but I could also do, for example, E minor, goes to A minor, goes to C, goes to B. All right, so when you analyze that, you got 1, 4, flat 6, and 5, right? So the 5 is always major when you're doing the neoclassical thing. And why is that? Because we need that leading tone. And that leading tone is the major third of that 5 chord, in this case B. So D sharp. Okay? Now, what are besides that, right? What is another typical neoclassical thing? It's like, well, the use of arpeggios, sequenced arpeggios. Sometimes a chord progression is emphasized by arpeggios. So, for example, if we do, let's say, that same chord progression that I mentioned before, right? E minor goes to A minor, goes to C, and then goes to B. So if I want to do a neoclassical part, I can probably create some arpeggios and do that way in a way that I follow those chords. For example, I can go right, that's for E minor, right? And then I can go A minor, and then go C, or here, and then B. All right? So if, let's say, if I grab another subdivision, this is, for example, triplets, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, that's one way. I can also do triplets with more strings, right? Just more the all right, so in neoclassical styles, they usually put these parts, right? These written parts, like before a solo or something, to set it all up, right? So you do a written part, and then you set up the shredding for the solo part later. And it's kind of cool because sometimes they do maybe 2 guitars, maybe 1 guitar and a keyboard. but depending on the tempo, it can be like very fast. Like, all right, or just half a slow, right? Right. So that's the concept, right? I mean, there's so many different techniques you can use, but let me see. Hey, we got Ingve Richie time, yeah. Hey, what up? What up, guys? Yeah, I mean, if you have particular questions, I can show you what some of the famous guys typically do, and it's always based around that. I mean, a lot of times they do a riff based on a scale sequence. We got some famous instrumentals, right? Instrumentals is a big thing in neoclassical. You can always avoid writing melody for a vocalist if you just do instrumental and then you create the melody with the guitar. And then you make it technically intricate and then suddenly you got a song, right? So for example, what is a typical riff in neoclassical? Well, a lot of times depends on how complicated you want to make it. You can set it all up, maybe with some double bass, like, right? So stuff like that, right? You just set it all up and then suddenly the melody comes in. Or you do specific riffs, right? There's very famous riffs. Probably some of you will recognize some of these. I'll show you some examples. All right, it's a very famous riff by our Swedish maestro, right? Another one of his riffs is sorry. All right, that kind of stuff is just all harmonic minor, right? And in that particular example, it's based on the Phrygian dominant side of it, which is the fifth mode of harmonic minor, right? Oh yeah, pedal notes. Yeah, of course. Jesus. Right? That's Bach, by the way. It's Toccata and Fugue. And yeah, you can create your own little pedal point licks, right? All right. Another one like right, that's another famous one. And then once you get the hang of that, they all follow a chord, right? So if you take, for example, what I just did, right? So you can kind of hear like. You always have to reach a 5 chord eventually, and that's usually the last chord. You don't want to put the 5 chord right away if you're doing more than the 1 and something else. So if you go 1 5 1 5, that's fine. But if you go 1 5 and then you want to go to the 4, it's like no, go to the 4 first and then hit the 5 at the end. Right? classical music, a lot of times it's just the 1 and the 5, right? It's like, right? That is just 1 chord and then 5 chord, and then the whole song or piece is just based on 1 chord, right? Sometimes we forget how simple the harmony of that stuff is. All the movement that's being created is what makes it interesting. So you can pretty much write a song right, and then make it moving in the melody. Like, right? So that's where you create the movement. Well, Richard Blackmore, he took certain classical melodies and inserted them in some of the Deep Purple stuff and the Rainbow stuff. And he wasn't. He always had the bluesy ingredient in a lot of the Deep Purple stuff. I mean, you got that one famous one. Right? It's just, you can follow that, and it's like it's D minor, and then C major, and then you got an A major, right? So yeah, there's always a 5 chord somewhere, and he also did that in Burn, right? It's just a lot of these little classical motifs. Our friend Yngwie took it to the next level, where he started doing a lot of what the keyboard player used to do, because the guitar player didn't have that technical proficiency. Then he said, no, I can do that, and then have the keyboard double me. So that way you got both instruments doing the technical stuff. But the concept is always the same. There's this one song by Rainbow. It's called Gates of Babylon, and he did that with Dio. And that stuff is just so much harmonic minor. It's awesome. So if you've never heard it, I should recommend you check that out. Sounds something like this. All right, so there's a mixture between Hungarian minor and Phrygian dominant, harmonic minor. So he's pretty big on that sound. He probably took more advantage of those sounds with Rainbow than in Deep Purple. Deep Purple was always more like on the bluesy side. And then you got all these instrumental guitarists which were created by Yngwie. You know, that whole style, that whole instrumental record, hey, I can put that out. And with all these Me Too's, and suddenly lots of neoclassical stuff with variations, you know, Tony McAlpine, Jason Becker, and really taking control of the whole technical side and exploring all the harmonic possibilities. Now, for example, if you take a guy like Jason Becker, he would do arpeggios short, long, use the tapping, use the speed picking, use all kinds of things. There's a lot of famous pieces, you know. Let me see. And you can hear the chord progression just from the arpeggio. So there's no real melody. It's just the melody is the arpeggio, which is also a normal classical tool, right? They did that in Baroque music and as well in later in the classical period. And if you look at it, it's just E minor, right? A, and B minor, right? And then D. Here's the 5 chord, right? That's the F sharp. And then back to B minor. Okay? And I mean, I can name so many examples. I mean, let me just show you a couple other ones. For example, let's see. What's a good one here? Yeah, when you do the, let's say, B minor, E minor, A, D, G, and C. C is borrowed, right, to create the same fourth interval. And then there's my 5 chord. And you can do all kinds of things with that chord progression. So I can grab the actual arpeggio, and then E minor, then A major, then D major, G, then C, and F sharp. Right? So the one thing you always want to do is find fingerings that are relatively easy, so you don't have to do crazy jumps or hard fingerings. So I would probably move this one over here. Right? I can also do it on 2 strings, like. Right? The other thing that they use a lot is on that 5 chord. Let's see. Yeah, Jason Baker. Yeah, that's right. The burn classical part is pretty cool. And so if we take the 5 chord, right, on this last chord progression, what did they use a lot? It's diminished, right? So the diminished is based on the dominant flat 9. So here's your F sharp, and then you go. So that's, you take G fully diminished, or A sharp, or C sharp, or E, right? They all represent the same thing in B harmonic minor. So here's my 5 bass, F sharp, and then there's my 7th A sharp diminished, so it becomes F sharp 7, flat 9. And use diminished. Easy, right? It's easy because it's completely symmetrical. So if I use diminished on my 5 chord, then it would sound something like this. And you resolve, right? And that is typical. You know, it's so cool because you can combine the major sound, in this case F sharp, then you go, and then you can combine it with the with the diminished sound. And you can do all kinds of diminished ideas. All right. Then you got the famous pieces that are just only arpeggios. You know, you got the famous Sarana from Jason Becker, right? Something like this. All right, and then all right. So he's just taking huge arpeggio shapes, and it's just one chord after another, right? In a sense, it's always 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, always in a row, but you got to play it in time and pretty tight. And you can also do it in all kinds of arpeggio inversions. For example, I like to do stuff like up here. Resolve back. So the tools are all there. You can do these things also in tapping if you want it. All right, and there you go. And so you can do that as fast as you want. Right? You can go. All right, and you'll resolve. So that's, in a nutshell, that's how they use it, right? There's a couple of inversions that you use. You know, right there I did a little bit of sus, the one chord and second inversion, which means the fifth is in the bass, that kind of stuff. Let's see, is there a good pedal note exercise or way to exercise is my left hand gets tired so fast with it. Yeah, the best one, the one note exercise, one note pedal point. That's the best one, right? Because it really focuses all on the pinky. If you want to do the more diatonic one, then I would recommend this one. If you don't want to start skipping strings, right? So basically, all I'm doing is just, and then once you're comfortable with that, and you can hang in there, then start going to the longer ones, like. Go as low as your hand allows. All the way down there. But yeah, that's true. These are very tiring, so you gotta train the left hand to have that constant bounce on your left. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. So yeah, that's it, folks. And just some cool neoclassical, get you started. Think about some cool chord progressions, major, minor. Always remember the 5 chord normally is at the end of any chord progression. And then you can use the technical side, grab subdivisions, 16 notes, triplets, 16 note triplets, all kinds of stuff, and find a cool beat. You know, usually the more challenging the beat or the rhythm, you know, the more intricate and probably entertaining it sounds. You know, if the melodies start getting too slow or too eighth notey, it's just, you know, if there's no vocals, it gets pretty yawny. It's like, you know. So if it's faster, then it's just more exciting. All right. So until next time, keep practicing.